Check, check, 1, 2. Hopefully the mic is good. Interesting. I'm not sure. Check, check, 2, 3. Check, check, 2, 3. All right, hopefully that's good there. That's interesting. It's never done that before. Sorry about that, guys. I guess I've been talking and no one's been hearing me. All right, so as I was saying and no one heard, we've got blue StriKeR as the Celts. In the north here, we've got RecoN red Egyptians. RecoN going for camels. Probably, again, a smart choice here. He is getting some axemen out, but again, you know, he wants that mobility. He wants to try to take advantage of the fact that the Celts don't have, you know, the Celts have fast infantry, but they have no cavalry in Age 2, so we'll see what StriKeR can do here with these spearmen. These spearmen are going to simply lose their lives to these Egyptian spearmen here. They're going to try to deny this storehouse. They might get it. They do not. So, kind of an ill-fated attempt there from StriKeR, but perhaps it was a distraction. Here comes some longswords on the western edge of the map. If you guys will just tell me in chat, make sure that everyone can hear me okay. Also, I'm hoping that there's no echo because sometimes my webcam picks up, it has a microphone in it, and so sometimes it screws with my actual microphone. So let me know. Make sure that you can hear me okay. Make sure that there's no echo. Just let me know in chat. Here comes some camels across the map for RecoN. So again, RecoN going to try to take advantage of this mobility of the camels. Camels are looking at a total of 11 speed versus the 7 speed of longswords. So again, you know, Celt infantry has decent speed, but obviously can't compare to this cavalry. So RecoN is going to get some damage here on this villager and is going to stumble across these unprotected villagers on the western side of StriKeR's base here. StriKeR is going to be forced to flee. Meanwhile, StriKeR trying to make some damage, make some pressure of his own here on RecoN's base. He's kind of got a two-pronged attack going. He's got one group of 11 longswords over here on the west edge. Meanwhile, these eastern longswords of 13 are going to move into the wood line. So they're going to get some damage on these villagers. That could be good there for StriKeR. Nice raid there from StriKeR. He's positioning his other group of longswords kind of in the southern part of the base there to cut off any reinforcements that RecoN might be sending out from his base. RecoN pulling his camels back across the map here. It's interesting. You'd think you might see RecoN maybe try to go for some more raiding with his camels, but I believe he is favoring instead to bring those camels back to defend. Here comes some axemen out for the Egyptians. 8 DPS, 185 health, armor at 30 there versus 210 health and 13 DPS. So again, these longswords are going to win a head-to-head contest, but we'll see if the numbers advantage can assist RecoN here. RecoN pushing out these longswords with his axemen. Nice engagement here in the middle of the map. Longswords are going to run into these axemen and camel from RecoN. RecoN does not like this engagement, so he's going to pull away, try to regroup with the other part of his army here. However, StriKeR is going to also consolidate his forces, so we'll see who can come out ahead in this engagement. StriKeR needs to get these other longswords in the engagement. He kind of lost that engagement there due to the fact that he didn't have all of his units in there. There is a druid in the mix though now, so that's going to assist StriKeR in this endeavor here, getting a druid or two into the mix. Meanwhile, it looks like StriKeR are choosing to go for an archery range kind of composition here, although RecoN is going to deny that with his camos. He's going to run into some spearmen here, so those camos are going to meet their demise. Nice there from StriKeR. Here we go back to this engagement in the middle of the map here. RecoN trying to press his advantage. StriKeR has gone to age 3 though, so interesting from RecoN choosing to stay in age 2 and again just kind of pressure his opponent from age 2. He's getting some slingers out as well of his own, so looks like we're going to see some slinger on slinger action here as StriKeR continues to get down a couple archery ranges. He's getting some druids onto the field, so again these druids should be able to assist him in terms of turning the tide of this engagement here. And indeed, it looks like StriKeR is going to be able to get the upper hand in this engagement here. Very low health on these axemen. You know, these druids are able to get some healing onto the longswords, whereas right now RecoN has no healing of his own, so a significant advantage here for StriKeR with these druids. That's just the backbone of the Celtic army, so good play there from StriKeR. But I'd like to see what StriKeR is going to choose to do here now that he's in H2. He is getting out bowmen, so I was going to say, you know, bowmen are probably going to be what he wants to do here to get some damage onto these axemen, and perhaps that was the choice. That was what made RecoN choose to get out slingers to try to counteract these bowmen. But StriKeR might do well to get some stables onto the field as well and get out some Celtic horsemen in an attempt to deal with these camels. Another engagement here. StriKeR does not have any spearmen in the mix. He has about 1 spearman, so he needs to maybe get some spearmen mixed in with his longswords, perhaps to try to help deal with these camels. But again, the numbers game here, StriKeR has the advantage between the numbers and the druids, so RecoN is going to fall back to his base, trying to establish some defense for his base here. You know, kind of walling up the eastern edge and the western edge here of his base in an attempt to kind of funnel StriKeR straight down the middle here so that he can control at least his corner of the map. So good defensive play there from RecoN. RecoN is now also in H3, getting out some economic upgrades here. So RecoN going to try to transition to H3 and kind of catch up with StriKeR in terms of the H3 unit composition. We'll see if RecoN maybe tries to get a fortress down for the Egyptians here to get out that powerful war elephant. So, meanwhile, StriKeR also biding his time. He's got his 3rd town center over here, kind of separated from the rest of his base. You know, it's somewhat undefended, so we might see StriKeR. Yeah, I was gonna say we might see StriKeR maybe try to get some walls down here. StriKeR going pretty aggressive with his wall placement. Actually, he recognizes that he has kind of forced RecoN back into his base, so StriKeR is going to try to take advantage of that and establish some map control by getting some very forward walls here. So kind of ballsy play there from StriKeR. We'll see if it pays off for him. You know, again, RecoN has essentially kind of forced StriKeR into a situation where he's going to come through one of these 2 choke points, so at least RecoN knows where he is going to come from, or at least have an opportunity to defend if StriKeR were to push against his walls there. StriKeR is going to try to make some trouble here in the front of RecoN's base. RecoN knows that he's not in position yet to defend against this, so he's going to kind of fall back, try to kite these units well into his base, and then re-engage so that he has a favorable engagement right in the middle of his base here. So we'll see, are these bowmen going to be able to take out these axemen very swiftly? They are, as well as the long swordsmen. Just very strong composition against the axemen. The slingers are just not enough to deal with this longsword bowman composition from StriKeR. So nicely done so far from StriKeR. He needs to get maybe a few more druids into the mix here. So far he's only got 1 druid, it looks like. So, but StriKeR has won this engagement, so he's going to now push into these villagers of RecoN, try to do as much damage as he can. RecoN's trying to get out some chariot archers in an attempt to deal with this composition. You know, chariot archers are very mobile, very high DPS units, so he's just going to try to get out these chariot archers so that he can try to deal with this composition. StriKeR is now down to basically just bowmen, so this will be the time that RecoN needs to try to counter push, but StriKeR biding his time, gathering his reinforcements here in the southern tip of RecoN's base. RecoN is going to try to move some villagers down here to establish some control of some gold, but they are going to run into these reinforcements of StriKeR. StriKeR does lose all of his bowmen here, so perhaps ill-advised from StriKeR. You know, perhaps StriKeR maybe should have tried to pull his bowmen out of that engagement, try to, you know, rejoin them with the remainder or the main portion of his army. But nevertheless, RecoN does eliminate those bowmen from his base. He's going to try to establish some map presence here. He really desperately needs some gold, so we see RecoN moving out some villagers across the map, but StriKeR did catch those villagers, and this is going to be interesting. Both of these players, perhaps unbeknownst to them right now, are establishing their market lines in the same western corner of the map, so that's going to be interesting later on. Here comes StriKeR and RecoN's chariot archers. Are they going to be enough? It does not look like it so far. These longswords are making short work of the axemen, and these bowmen are just able to dish out so much DPS, but nice kiting here from RecoN. You know, RecoN, again, does have the mobility on his side with these chariot archers, but he is going to fall back. He doesn't like the looks of this engagement here, so he's going to fall back into his base, try to get some defender's advantage here. He's going to rain fire down onto these longswords, so these longswords are going to die very quickly to those axemen and chariot archers, and now all of a sudden StriKeR decides that this is not an engagement that he wants. These chariot archers are very strong, so StriKeR is going to fall back. More longswords coming into the action here. They're going to be able to take down these axemen, but again, he needs to deal with these chariot archers. Really like to see maybe StriKeR establishing some stables to try to get some mobility to deal with those chariot archers. Interesting here, RecoN's got some gold miners inside the walls of StriKeR, so that's interesting. Poor homeless cows are over there just kind of chilling. But again, this engagement is just slowly turning to RecoN's favor as a result of these chariot archers. Getting out some additional camos as well. Here comes some Woad Raiders from StriKeR. So StriKeR is going to choose to get out some Woad Raiders in an attempt to deal with these chariot archers, which is not a bad play. You know, chariot archers are technically ranged units, even though they have movement like cavalry. They are, you know, they're using horses, so you think they're cavalry, but they are ranged units. So these Woad Raiders do have a bonus, 2.5 bonus against chariot archers, so that might be a good play there from StriKeR, but he's losing his gold miners over here on the eastern side of the map. So nice raid here from RecoN. He's going to move these spearmen in, possibly get onto these chariot archers. Here come the Woad Raiders. We'll see if they can get some damage onto these chariot archers. They do get intercepted by these axemen. StriKeR does need to try to get his Woad Raiders onto those chariot archers. Again, the bowman ball is doing a decent amount of damage for StriKeR, but he needs to get his Woad Raiders onto these chariot archers because RecoN can just kite him all day with these chariot archers. So yeah, StriKER's gonna have to fall back here. RecoN very intelligently has transitioned to this axeman chariot archer composition, and StriKeR just doesn't have an answer for it right now. He needs to get more Woad Raiders onto the field. You know, if he's not going to try to invest in stables, which, you know, even the Celtic horsemen may not be ideal, especially given the fact that these camel riders have a bonus versus cavalry. So you know, these Woad Raiders might be StriKER's saving grace, but again, he's just kind of running them into the front lines of RecoN. That's not going to do. He does need to flank here, as he's doing here with a small group of Woad Raiders. So we'll see if he can get some raids or some Woads onto these chariot archers. RecoN, very good micro there, moves his chariot archers back into the kind of meaty defense of these axemen here. So nice micro there from RecoN. StriKER now relegated to his base, as RecoN was just a few moments ago. So RecoN has significantly turned the tide of this engagement here. Meanwhile, StriKER is still trying to establish some map control, but a siege tower on the field for RecoN. So again, you know, these players over here are just not noticing these markets, although StriKER does recognize that, yeah, he's not going to be able to come back against this chariot archer composition here. So GG. Well played there from RecoN. RecoN was able to just kind of slowly turn the tide of that battle. RecoN very intelligently transitioned to these chariot archers in H3. So well played there from RecoN. And again, guys, notice not just the chariot archers, but the axemen. You know, the axemen are kind of an underrated unit here for the Egyptians. You know, the axemen were able to provide kind of a meat shield for the chariot archers and also provide some DPS onto the longswords of StriKeR. And so with the longswords gone and the bowmen, you know, once StriKeR was down to bowmen, they just were not able to deal with these chariot archers. And you know, he tried to transition to Woad Raiders, but it was perhaps a little bit too late. So the score was fairly even until, again, those final moments there, the final engagement in the last few minutes there. So well played. Almost dead even on economy, as we can see here. Let's take a look at villagers trained. Yeah, StriKeR was actually a little bit ahead in terms of villagers, but pretty even throughout the entire game here. Yeah, pretty even on economy. So really that just came down to a unit composition. You know, came down to the engagements that RecoN was able to win there as a result of his excellent micro and his choices in terms of his units. So well played from both players. Alright, so that game number one there goes to RecoN. So we're going to see if we can get a game two coming here. So, oops. All right, 1-0 for RecoN. I don't know if Carnage is back yet, so we're just gonna keep going here with these gentlemen. So folks, listen, if you're new to Project Celeste, if you're new to Age of Empires Online, check out Project Celeste. It's an excellent game, completely free to play, resurrection of Age of Empires Online, so be sure to check it out. Just real quick, if anyone can kind of tell me in the chat, make sure sound is good, mic is good, all that good stuff. Right. Let's see what these players want for map number 2 here. So we're gonna let StriKeR choose the map. No. Alright, so we are going to have the game number 2 on Oasis. So Oasis is a kind of a unique map in that it's got a small pond in the middle of the map that is completely shallows, meaning that you can build on the shallows. Land units can walk over the shallows, but it can also have water units. So an interesting map for sure. And to get my OBS back up so I can get you guys a good cast here. Alright, so there is a kind of an updated version of this map that RecoN produced for us in Watering Hole. So Watering Hole is kind of a new take on Oasis, where there's a middle island surrounded by a ring of shallows. So It's a very cool map as well. But Oasis, it's kind of an interesting spawn here. You've got your Oasis in the middle here, and the players are kind of offset. In the northeast, we've got the red Egyptians of RecoN. He's on his hunts. He's on his wood line there. Meanwhile, the blue Celts of StriKeR down here in the southwestern part of the map. He does have his barracks up quite swiftly, so looks like same as last game. We're going to see the spearmen coming out a little bit earlier for StriKeR than we are for RecoN. RecoN getting some good information of his surroundings here, as is StriKeR. StriKeR not on his wood line yet. He is kind of distance gathering from the trees surrounding his town center here, so I'm sure we'll see a storehouse from StriKeR once he hits 50 wood. He is getting some spearmen out here from his barracks. 5 hunters and 5 hunters for both players. Barracks now coming down for RecoN, so not too much far behind, not too much further behind is RecoN here. But again, as we saw last game, RecoN got his barracks up a little bit later, and StriKeR was not able to take advantage of his early spearmen. So we'll see if this game, if StriKeR can in fact take advantage of the fact that he's got his spearmen out a little bit earlier than RecoN does. He's got one villager building this storehouse over here on his wood line. Meanwhile, these villagers continue to gather long distance here, whereas RecoN is fully on his wood line here. And there comes the age up from RecoN, so RecoN heading to H2. No spearmen out yet for RecoN, so that's an interesting choice from RecoN. He's, I guess, instead deciding to, or he favored getting to H2 faster. He's going to be setting up now for some stone gathering so he can get his second town center here. Meanwhile, StriKeR's up to 6 spearmen, but again, he's kind of choosing not to do anything with them. You know, if he were to scout his opponent's base, he would see, I mean, so far he sees that he's got the barracks up, and now he is going to see that his opponent is headed to H2 with, oh no. Oh no, his scout just got stuck by the rhino. This is a travesty. And it looks like StriKeR calls the GG because he's about to lose his scout. StriKeR didn't like his start either, so StriKeR calls the early GG here. Let's see if we can get a retry here. Yeah, Trollercules. I'm just gonna call you Carnage. Yeah, I guess StriKeR didn't like his opening, and maybe his scout getting stuck just kind of pushed him over the edge of rage, over the edge of the saltiness, and decided he wanted to call the GG. So let's see if we can get it going here again. Carnage, are you ready after this game to get a match in? I hope so. Alright, sorry guys. So back on Oasis, kind of a bit more of a standard spawn here with, I mean, they're somewhat off-center, but a little bit more centered this time around. So once again, we're going to have Celts versus Egyptians. Again, RecoN chooses to, instead of going for that very, very early barracks, RecoN chooses to get his storehouse down on his wood line as soon as possible, which, you know, is a trade-off. He doesn't get his barracks up earlier, but he does get more efficient and quicker wood gathering than does his opponent. Because as you can see, StriKeR does have his barracks up early, but he's not going to have the wood to get a second storehouse. So it's just a kind of a trade-off there. He is choosing to gather long distance here from his trees. You'd think, I don't know, someone can maybe tell me in the chat, maybe Carnage or Wout or anyone, if you think it would be better to send your villagers up here to gather a little bit more closely from these trees that are kind of near this hunt storehouse. Seems like it would be a more efficient play to me, but nevertheless, StriKeR choosing to stick on these trees near his base here. RecoN really gathering up the goats here, folks. RecoN is a big fan of the goats, but no, here comes the scout of StriKeR. StriKER's stealing the goats. Such bad manners. Here comes the scout of RecoN. Folks, welcome to Age of Empires Online Goat Wars 2019. We're bringing in the new decade with some riveting gameplay here. Fighting over the goats. RecoN says, bro, my goats, back off. Barracks coming down for RecoN. Few spearmen out now for StriKeR. About 5 spearmen already out for StriKeR. So again, he's gathering up his spearmen. We'll see if he chooses to move out. So far, he's just kind of keeping them at his town center. Usually, you see players choose to move out once they hit about 5, 6, 7 spearmen. So we'll see if StriKeR chooses to do such. Meanwhile, RecoN looks like he'll be ready to head to H2 here shortly, and indeed throws down the Temple of Ra. Alright, Carnage says he is ready. Alright, cool. So I'll get you in this game as soon as this game is over. Alright, StriKeR choosing to move out with 8 spearmen. So we'll see if he can get anything done, but he did give his opponent time to get spearmen of his own. So about 5 spearmen for RecoN. He's going to be able to force RecoN off the hunt here and force those spearmen back as well, because again, the Celt spearmen do have the slight edge in terms of DPS at 12 DPS to the 10, but these spearmen do have a little bit more health. Again, RecoN choosing to move his Empress, his Priestess off his town center in order to heal his spearmen here. So smart play there from RecoN. He's going to choose StriKeR to try to reassess his movement here, reassess his engagement. He is going to pull this engagement here. He's going to get 1 spearman. 1 spearman goes down for StriKeR. StriKeR now choosing to move back again with the scout and this Priestess of RecoN that's going to turn the tide slightly in his favor, and now Axemen are coming out for RecoN, so StriKeR no longer going to have the advantage there. He is an H2 though, so here comes the long swordsman of the Celts. Formidable long swordsman indeed. But RecoN trying to press the issue here. RecoN decides, you know what, I've got the health advantage in terms of my units, and now I've got slight numbers advantage. So he's going to see what he can make happen here. He does force StriKeR off his hunt, although that hunt was pretty much depleted there, so not a huge deal for StriKeR. StriKeR a little bit behind in store, but these players are pretty much dead even in terms of population. RecoN is a little housed here. He's got his town center coming up right between this gold mine and these berries. You know, usually you want to see some space between your gathering point and your resource nodes, like the the gold and the stone, but RecoN going full noob here. No space. Hashtag noob. Just kidding. Meanwhile, RecoN moves his units into the tree line here of StriKeR, but StriKeR is going to be able to deal with that raid there. Nice base placement here for StriKeR, kind of building some natural walls with his barracks and his houses, so he's able to trap those units of RecoN and get those units out of his tree line there. So we'll see if either player chooses to go for a dock on the Oasis here. So far, neither player has kind of pushed out onto the map. Both players still just kind of building up their bases here, establishing their unit compositions. StriKeR is going heavy on the long swords. We'll see if he can take advantage of the fact that, as it stands right now, RecoN only has axemen. He is getting a couple more barracks down, so this time RecoN, as opposed to getting a stables, looks like RecoN choosing to go kind of a full barracks build here. So I guess RecoN is going to invest heavily into the axemen. Again, the axemen, 185 HP, 8 DPS with a 3 times multiplier against infantry. Meanwhile, longswordsmen only have 2.5 multiplier against infantry, but do have 13 DPS and 210 health. So it's going to be an interesting matchup here with axemen versus longswords. StriKeR decides that he does not want to fight under the fire of the town center. The town center is being heavily empowered by so many goats. Not really, I'm kidding. So StriKeR falls back. He decides that he doesn't want to fight under that technically double TC fire. So he does get a dock down there, though. So he's going to get a swan ship out. That's going to be interesting for StriKeR. He's going to be able to pretty well control this Oasis with a swan ship down in the Oasis. But the question is, how will RecoN respond? Thus far, he has not built any stables. So again, so far, RecoN deciding to kind of go fully invested into these axemen here. These axemen are going to make short work of these perusing longswords. The longswords were kind of trying to figure out what they could find there. Instead, they met their demise. Again, the swan ship is going to fortify this position for StriKeR, but RecoN, he is going to see this, and I'm sure he's going to choose that he does not want that engagement with that swan ship on the field. 21 longswords to 27, and a priestess of RecoN. More longswords streaming across the map here, but yeah, I was just about to say StriKeR really needs to try to get out some druids here. Again, druids are going to be able to provide not only the healing but the buff, so that he can try to kind of turn the tide in his favor in this axeman versus longsword matchup. And here comes the Temple of Set for RecoN, which means that he is headed to age 3, so StriKeR will see if he can take advantage of this timing. With RecoN going to age 3 right now, they are somewhat even in terms of population. Slight advantage to StriKeR. StriKeR's going to get a house here, so that is going to put RecoN in a tough spot here. Yeah, he's going to have to throw down several more houses because he realizes he's very close to being population capped. But StriKeR decides that he doesn't want to press that engagement there, which is maybe an unfortunate choice for StriKeR, because at this point, you know, he does have fairly even in terms of the numbers, and you know, yeah, RecoN does have double town centers here, but RecoN is smack dab in the middle of heading to H3, or rather just hit H3. So here comes a fortress from RecoN. RecoN looks like is probably going to choose to get some elephants onto the field. StriKeR is going to see this, though, so he's probably going to be able to deny this fortress. He does deny the fortress, but now what does he choose to do? He chooses to fall back, takes his win there. He's going to see with this small group of units here that another fortress is coming down, so he's going to choose to move in again, but this time RecoN in a little bit better position with his axemen, so he's going to be able to defend the front line of that fortress here. Trying to flank is StriKeR. StriKeR moving around. He's going to be able to get onto kind of the back side of the fortress. Will he be able to deny it? Oh, it's going to be close. He does deny it, so Once again, denied fortress here for StriKeR, so well played for StriKeR. And again, these longswords are making short work of these axemen, so big engagement here for StriKeR. And now, just in time, a druid comes onto the field. So big play here from StriKeR. StriKeR needs to move in, press his advantage. He's going to fall back, though. I'd like to maybe see him get onto this tree line right here of RecoN. Again, he's got the advantage in terms of the engagement. And this tree line is somewhat out of the range of these two town centers here, but instead he chooses to fall back. So StriKeR decides, you know what, I'm going to take what I can get. I denied 2 fortresses. I'm going to reamass my forces here again and go from there. He's got 1 druid so far. Maybe he needs to get 1 or 2 more just to kind of make sure his entire army can be covered by the druids, but still just kind of solidifying his position on the oasis as well for the second dock. No H3 still from StriKeR. Meanwhile, RecoN is solidly in H3 and does not have a 3rd town center down yet. Interesting choice here from RecoN. He's throwing a market down. I guess he's throwing the market down so that he can try to even out his resources, maybe have the ability to buy and sell his resources there. And then here comes the 3rd town center from RecoN, trying to get up some guard towers as well. But StriKeR going to move in, deny this guard tower. We'll see if StriKeR has enough to deal with this force of RecoN. No, he's going to choose to fall back. RecoN had a nice mass of axemen there, so StriKeR decides that he's not going to be able to win that engagement. Between the fact that RecoN had some healing for his axemen, had the size advantage there, and then now this 3rd town center comes down for RecoN. So very defensive base building for RecoN. He's going to try once again for this fortress. Will the 3rd time be a charm? We'll see. He's got a priestess as well, empowering the building time. So nice play there from RecoN. Nice little watch post here from StriKeR. That's an interesting map layout. See, this provides a little bit of a wall for StriKeR, but really this is a really nice cliff placement for RecoN. Really kind of provides some defense in the back of his base, but that watchtower is just kind of watch post, I should say, is watching the tree line of RecoN. So he's got a little bit of presence, or a little bit of visibility, StriKeR does, in the base of RecoN, but RecoN probably about to find this watch post. No, he does. No, he probably sees it, but he does also get the valuable information that that gap is wide enough to be able to walk through. And folks, at this point, with these elephants coming onto the field, I've played this matchup several times myself, and if you allow the Egyptian player to, as Celts, if you allow the Egyptian player to get their elephants onto the field without a good transition plan yourself, then you're going to find a tough time trying to get these elephants down from RecoN, especially if RecoN is able to get a big group of elephants onto the field. It's going to be very difficult for StriKeR to deal with. He needs to transition to H3, which he has, but he needs to transition to stables, which he is. So here comes some stables from StriKeR, but it isn't going to be enough. It's going to be quick enough. He needs to get some horsemen onto the field so that he can try to deal with these elephants. And RecoN, is just happy to bide his time. RecoN is completely content with slowly getting elephants onto the field, taking advantage of the fact that StriKeR is not pushing at this very moment. He does not push. So we'll see how this army does for StriKeR against these war elephants. These war elephants are going to get onto the front line here for StriKeR, and StriKeR is going to lose a ton of longswords here. They're kind of trapped on this other side of the storehouse, so they're going to meet their demise. He's got some bowmen onto the field as well as some slingers, but again, they're just not going to be able to deal with these war elephants. If these war elephants especially get onto this ranged ball of StriKeR, they're going to make quick work of those range units. So StriKeR is very smartly getting some horsemen onto the field. But again, is it going to be enough? Is it going to be fast enough? Is it going to be enough to stop RecoN before he can snowball this army? RecoN does need to maybe get some units queued up here. He's got the food and gold to do it. He's trying to get some caravans going, although where's his other market? Oh, there's his other market. So RecoN's got his market line here going in the eastern side of the map, but StriKeR, nice placement of these longswordsmen, are going to see this caravan line for RecoN. So well played there from StriKeR, but a fortress coming down over here on the eastern side for RecoN. So RecoN is going to get some defense going up. He's going to send some axemen over here, so he's going to force these longswords out for StriKeR. StriKeR trying to establish some map control on the western side of the map. Getting a town center down. Pretty forward town center from StriKeR, so again, kind of some aggressive play here from StriKeR. We'll see if that pays off for him. He's getting a market up himself as well. And again, slowly trying to get these Celtic horsemen onto the field, which is a good move from StriKeR, because he's going to be able to need, or he's going to need a mass of horsemen to deal with these now 6 elephants of RecoN. He's going to push onto this wall here. He wants to make some trouble here for RecoN's market line. So RecoN going to try to trap those longswordsmen with his horsemen. Meanwhile, StriKeR, again, just kind of slowly biding his time. He is capped at 160. He needs to get his third town center down. He's got a few armory upgrades compared to quite a few for RecoN here. Getting iron smelting, so that's going to improve the damage of his melee units. Got his horseman here on the southwestern edge of RecoN's base. He's going to push onto this wall, so we'll see if he's able to break through this wall in time to make life difficult for RecoN. Meanwhile, RecoN was able to save his market here, so well played there from RecoN. However, here comes some more horsemen from StriKeR. StriKER's going to still try to press the issue here on the eastern corner of the map, trying to make trouble for RecoN's market line. RecoN tried to sneak a dock onto the oasis, but wasn't quite able to get it done with that swan ship being quite vigilant. Meanwhile, these 10 horsemen of StriKeR have made it into the back of the base of RecoN, so this could be huge for StriKER if he's able to get quite a bit of damage onto the economy of RecoN. But RecoN is moving into the base, back of his base, with a sizable amount of axemen and 1 horse. StriKER is able to drop quite a few villagers. RecoN just kind of slowly moving his units there. He needs to focus. There he goes. StriKER chasing these villagers down, drops several villagers. So let's get a villager count, 79 now to 76. So StriKER was a little bit behind in villagers, but was able to even the score there with this horseman raid. These horsemen are going to get caught now, though. Chariot archers onto the field for RecoN as well, so these horsemen are going to slowly die off. However, StriKER has gone to age 4, so, you know, StriKER just kind of keeping RecoN's attention with his horseman raid here. RecoN's still not doing anything about this watch post. But yeah, in the meantime, StriKER went to age 4, so we'll see if he can press his advantage in terms of age 4. He is getting some Carpentums on the field, so that could be huge for StriKER. Carpentums are excellent units. They do have a bonus against ranged, which don't really do anything except for these chariot archers. That could be nice for StriKER, you know, to get these Carpentums onto these chariot archers. However, RecoN has a very formidable composition himself with the cavalry bonus of the camels as well as the ranged bonus. So we'll see how this engagement goes here. Both players pretty much at 180 population. Some big upgrades coming for StriKER. StriKER is now at 200 population with his 4th town center, so this could be huge for StriKER if he can try to get onto these units. He's trying to make use of his swan ship here. He needs to get those Carpentums on those chariot archers and those horsemen onto the elephants. Can't quite tell which way this engagement is going. It looks like it's going in the way of RecoN. The Axemen are all but dead for RecoN. StriKeR able to bring down an elephant, able to bring down most of the camels. Yeah, these Carpentums are just so good. He needs to bring down this other elephant. He's almost got this one down over here. Yeah, it looks like StriKeR is going to be able to take this engagement. These chariot archers are not going to be able to deal with these Carpentums, and Carpentum champions, in fact. So, nice transition there from StriKeR, going to H4, getting out these Carpentums. But is he going to be able to press his advantage here? RecoN back for more. He's got 2 more elephants onto the field, several more chariot archers, so these chariot archers are going to make quick work of these bowmen. StriKeR desperately needs to get these Carpentums onto these chariot archers. These elephants are just so tanky. All of those Carpentums taking down that elephant. And now he's microing a few of his Carpentums onto the chariot archers. Meanwhile, these Carpentums on the left are going to get that elephant. So again, StriKeR slowly able to take advantage of this, or I'm sorry, take the advantage in this engagement. This elephant's making life difficult, however. He's going to bring it down. Going to slowly kind of ease up on the map here. More stables on the western side here for StriKeR. StriKeR trying to establish kind of some map presence on the left here. The western side of the map. Was able to win this engagement in the middle, but he needs to press his advantage. StriKeR is down to RecoN is down to 170 population, but StriKeR's capped out with these units in the queue. He needs to press his advantage, but look at this. Siege towers coming in for RecoN, so able to get 1 archer range, might be able to get the stables. So sneaky play there from RecoN, getting out some siege towers, which are essentially rams. Is able to get that stables, and might get the last stables. He doesn't. That stables survives with 11 HP. So now StriKeR decides, bro, I can't be having these rogue siege towers. So he's going to move on the eastern edge here, see what he can get done. He's going to run into a wall, and a couple towers being built there for RecoN. He needs to get these Carpentums on these chariot archers here. Good kiting, though, from StriKeR. RecoN got a sizable amount of elephants and camels now. He's going to try to move some Carpentums in the back, but RecoN smartly moves his chariot archers away. He recognizes that he's got to keep his chariot archers intact if he wants a chance at trying to win this engagement. Elephants are falling by the wayside for RecoN. Again, these Carpentums are just so good. StriKeR holding steady at 200 population. Again, he needs to make something happen because RecoN has now hit H4. He's going to be able to get out some elephant archers, which he is very quickly getting out those elephant archers, and may also opt to go for elephant champion, either the elephant archer or
Ahura Mas, the
regular
bless.
elephant champions. So we'll see what he chooses to do there. Gardrobe 10, thanks for the follow on the Project Celeste channel. Appreciate you checking it out. If you haven't already, download Project Celeste, projectceleste.com, completely free to play. You can get on the action yourself as well. Some catapults onto the field for RecoN. So RecoN, he's in H4 now. He's getting his guard tower upgrade. He's very heavily protecting his market line here. He recognizes that he needs to protect his market line at all costs. So RecoN is a bit on his heels here, but StriKeR's not able to take advantage of the fact that, you know, he has the higher population. He's getting some upgrades, but RecoN getting that H4 upgrade for himself. So RecoN going to have a very upgraded army. Again, those elephant archers are now onto the field, so they're going to deal a lot of damage to these horsemen. Couple druids in the mix for StriKeR here, so could be good for StriKeR. But StriKeR, yeah, I was just about to say, he needs to get some stone throwers onto the field so he can start getting through these walls, taking down these guard towers. He's got RecoN on his back foot. RecoN is desperately trying to get his population up, but he's getting Poundtonen onto the field, but You know, if StriKeR is able to strike soon enough, he may be able to win this game. Here comes the stone thrower. He's going to be able to deal some damage to these walls. StriKeR is kind of racing against the clock here because the longer RecoN goes, the longer RecoN has to upgrade his units. You know, these elephants are just so difficult to deal with, and these chariot archers are just so mobile that StriKeR is going to have a hard time dealing with that H4 army of the Egyptians. But nevertheless, StriKeR also has some heavily upgraded units of his own, and you know, this Carpentum, you know, 24 Carpentums may be too much for RecoN to deal with. We'll see. Honestly, I'm interested to see how this match goes. Nice shot there from the Palantonin. Takes out one stone thrower. Stone thrower needs to open up this wall so these Carpentums can get back to that Palantonin. Nice damage there, though, from the Carpentums on the chariot archers. So, again, RecoN kind of on his back heels. RecoN is choosing to get out Spearman Champion. So, we'll see how RecoN can go with the Spearman Champion. RecoN just kind of trying to get his numbers up, get some frontline defense for his chariot archers here, because as it stands right now, he's got a few elephants on the field, but he needs to get some defense for his chariot archers. StriKeR is going to push in here. Let's see if he can get some damage onto those chariot archers. Needs to deal with these catapults, and these Palantonins are going to deal quite a bit of damage there, although those catapults, these Carpentums are just so tanky that that catapult's really not doing much with the Druids as well. So the horsemen are down for StriKeR, but StriKeR, here comes some reinforcements of horsemen, and the horsemen are going to be able to get through the wall, get into the back line of RecoN here. RecoN on his back heel. StriKeR making a great push here. He's going to get some stone throwers, getting some damage onto the wall here. So big wall, big hole in the wall now for RecoN. Nice shot there. Gets the catapult. Oh, but these stone throwers might go down. StriKeR desperately trying to get his numbers back up himself. He's got several horsemen in queue, but meanwhile RecoN is down to 150 population, even with what's in queue. So RecoN on his back foot. StriKeR needs to press at his advantage here, although he did lose his stone throwers, so he's through the wall, but he needs to get some more stone throwers back up so that he can take down this fortress, and he needs to get this Palantonin of RecoN as well. The western side of the map is pretty peaceful, you know, and StriKeR is really taking advantage of this engagement on the eastern side of the map because his market line is on the western side, so his economy is unimpeded. Meanwhile, RecoN is fighting desperately to protect his market line. Big engagement here. So many horsemen now onto the field for StriKeR. This might turn the tide of the engagement in StriKeR's favor. StriKeR able to get the Palantonin, able to get the catapult, and it's now raining hell down onto this army of RecoN. RecoN is on his back foot. RecoN is relegated to throwing out slingers. He's trying to get some slingers onto the field to deal with these Carpentums, and StriKeR throwing down a wonder. 10 minutes. RecoN has 10 minutes to get to the wonder of StriKeR. You know, it's not very heavily defended, but RecoN is on his back foot here and is trying to defend his own base. So StriKeR is putting so much pressure on RecoN, getting several caravans as well. So RecoN, he's just not been able to get above 180 population. He's desperately trying to get his wall back up here, but I don't know what RecoN's going to do. He doesn't have an answer. These Carpentums are just so strong. And between Horseman and Carpentum Champion, you know, RecoN doesn't have much to deal with this. His chariot archers aren't upgraded. His war elephants aren't upgraded. His camel riders are, but his slingers aren't either. So this is just going to be so difficult for RecoN to deal with. Sorry guys, give me 1 second. Sorry guys. Alright, so big engagement here for StriKeR. StriKeR's trying to press his advantage, but those horsemen are going to go down for RecoN. So RecoN able to kind of turn the tide there in terms of that horseman line for StriKeR. But meanwhile, the stone throwers are able to bring down that fortress. So another Palantonin on the field for RecoN. RecoN finally up to 200 population. So we'll see if StriKeR can maintain his advantage here. It may be slipping back into RecoN's favor. A big amount of camels here coming out for RecoN. RecoN has some siege towers onto the field. He's trying to get to that wonder of StriKeR and does bring down the walls, brings down several buildings here, but the horsemen are going to be able to deal with these siege towers. Meanwhile, these camels are going to run into the wall here. So all over the map here. Come the horsemen here, engaging with these camel riders. Carpentum's coming to save the day here. More horsemen as well, so he's going to scare away the camels there for RecoN. RecoN again trying to hold on here to his market line and trying to throw some siege towers at StriKeR, but StriKeR did very well to respond pretty quickly to that with some horsemen. Is getting his walls back up, getting another fortress down, getting some walls around his wonder. So StriKeR is kind of committing very heavily to defending his wonder as opposed to, you know, pushing in on the offensive. It looks like StriKeR has decided that he would rather play the long game and defend his wonder, which may not be a bad play, you know, because he's got a stranglehold on RecoN over here on the eastern side, this eastern front. You know, RecoN's just not been able to make anything happen. And, you know, did get his fortress back up here, is getting a few structures down to be able to get some quicker reinforcement. But again, he's just not been able to break the stalemate. This might be huge though for RecoN. RecoN pushing in with his primary force here, might get a big flank. StriKeR pushes in with his horsemen. Might see some Carpentums on this Palantonin. RecoN moves the camels back around to try to get onto those horsemen, deal with those horsemen. Kiting with the Carpentums is StriKeR. So now a split force here for StriKeR. StriKeR makes a beeline for the markets of RecoN. This could be huge. RecoN needs to respond. He's got his camels just sitting here. One market down, 2 markets down for RecoN. RecoN very ballsy, just throws the markets right back down and now moves in with his camels. So he's going to be able to destroy this raid from StriKeR. And is also pressing the hole here on the eastern front, moving in with the Palantonin. Where is StriKeR? Where did StriKER's army go? It moved across the map, I guess, to deal with these siege towers of RecoN. RecoN trying to put pressure back on the western side of the map, but moving in with his army on the eastern side. But the Carpentums are back in the action, so this is going to be very difficult for RecoN to deal with. And look at this, the buff coming in from the auger. Right of Andrasta, so increases the damage of StriKER's units. Will it be enough to turn the tide? Palantonin getting some heavy damage onto this fortress. Is probably going to lose this fortress. Needs to get the Carpentums onto that Palantonin. One market back up now for RecoN. Down goes the fortress. StriKER's all of a sudden on his back foot here. He's got nothing to deal with these siege towers. He needs to get something over here. Oh no, he's going to be capped as well. Oh, that's going to be huge. Needs to get those horsemen under those siege towers. But he's pressing the advantage again over here on the eastern front. Big push there for StriKeR to make RecoN fall back. But RecoN says, you know what? I'm going to try to run my siege tower into the wonder, but doesn't quite get it. Down goes the siege tower, so StriKeR just in time is able to get those horsemen out and get that siege tower. But does he notice that he's capped at 195? He needs to get a house back up. He needs to throw a house down somewhere. It's at 195. Very heavily defended are these markets over here. More walls coming down for RecoN as well. Desperately trying to just defend the eastern side here, but he knows that the clock is ticking. 3 minutes for the wonder of StriKeR. Moving his camels in here, trying to make a hole somewhere. StriKeR gets his Carpentums over. 2 Palantonans coming over for RecoN, so if RecoN can hold on to these Palantonans, it could be big. Down goes the dock. Get those horsemen around. Going to try to do some damage onto the Palantonans, but they will die to those camels. However, in the front lines, StriKeR is pressing his advantage here, but the camels do get through on the northern part of the wall. So the camels are now trying to disrupt the market line of StriKeR. So instead of going for the wonder, RecoN very intelligently going for the market line. So this could be crippling for StriKeR. StriKeR now down to 150 population to 190 of RecoN. He has got to get his population back up. He's got to defend his market line. This could be huge for RecoN. So many caravans down for StriKeR. Here come the horsemen of StriKeR. This Carpentum ball desperately trying to hold on to this middle part of the map here. RecoN just punching here, punching there, trying to find a hole in the defense of StriKeR. That's the 2-minute warning for StriKeR. Palantonans getting some stables down, so StriKeR all of a sudden on his back foot here. These Carpentums are desperately trying to hold on, but these Camel Rider champions and Spearman champion are getting a lot of damage down, moving his horsemen back into the main fight here, and is giving up on his market line. What is he doing? The market line is completely demolished for StriKeR. Is StriKeR just going to try to hold on for these last 60, 80 seconds? The Carpentums are desperately trying to kite, desperately trying to slowly whittle the camels away, but these Palantonans, these Palantonans are going to stay up. Here come the siege towers as well. 60 seconds for StriKeR, but I don't think StriKeR is going to be able to do anything. He does have a good bank of resources, so, perhaps he's just going to rely on his bank. But where are his units? These cavalry take so long to train, and look at that. RecoN destroyed most of his stables. Here come the Palantonans, here come the siege towers. StriKeR desperately trying to hold on. 40 seconds. Some damage on the wonder, not much. Here comes some more siege towers. Palantonan down for RecoN. Great pickup there for StriKeR. StriKeR gets the Palantonan of RecoN, but RecoN moving in with the camels. Oh my goodness. He's got to get these camels. 19 seconds. He's got to get the camels. Down goes the wonder for StriKeR. 14 seconds left. Oh, he got the Palantonan, but he let the camels get in. Oh my goodness. Wow. Oh, StriKeR. Oh my goodness. So close. Once again, 14 seconds on the wonder. StriKeR, he had a decent bank, but what ended up killing him is that he lost most of his production facilities. RecoN was able to use his Palantonan to take out most of the stables of StriKeR. StriKeR needed to maybe use these villagers to throw down more stables so that he could get reinforcements out quicker, but he didn't respond. He was too focused on the engagement here in the middle, which, understandably so, but he lost all of his production facilities, so he had no reinforcements, and he was able to get the Palantonan down, and he's able to block these siege towers, but the camels just came in, and the earlier siege towers poked a hole in the walls, and then the camels came in, and StriKeR had no units in the inner walls of his wonder here, and just was not able to respond. He was trying to move some villagers. Look at this. He had some villagers right there So close to coming in to defend the Wonder, but not close enough. And StriKeR, you know, ahead in score, but ultimately, you know, he didn't defend his markets. He said, you know what, I'm just going to go full into the defense of the Wonder and rely on my bank. And so he just went all in on the Wonder, and if he lost the Wonder, he loses the game, because then RecoN is established with his economy, and even though RecoN, you know, is somewhat behind in score and resources, StriKeR was not going to be able to respond and recover. And so StriKeR went in all in on the defense of the Wonder, but didn't have his villagers there in time to repair it, didn't have units there to destroy the camels. So well played from RecoN. You know, just super smart play from RecoN, recognizing that, you know what, if I can take out these production facilities, I'm not even going to need my Palantonin on the Wonder. I can just get my camels in there, and StriKeR won't be able to respond because he won't be able to get reinforcements out fast enough. So well played there from RecoN. Well played from StriKeR as well. Both players, very entertaining game. Let's take a quick look. Again, villagers somewhat even, at least until the end of the game there. Economy, look at that, almost dead even in terms of resources gathered. So both players, you know, very even in terms of economy, but ultimately the game went in RecoN's favor at the end there, because he was able to make a beeline for the Wonder. And as they can see, you know, fairly even in terms of military population. You know, this is, you know, StriKeR had a slight advantage here kind of in the mid-game, but then RecoN at the end there was able to swing it in his favor. So, well played. So, well played from our players there. GG. GG. StriKeR is not StriKeR is not too happy about it, but well played there from both players. All right. So, again, GG.